Meno Warriors, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kate Hartley and I share a weekly video with you every Monday around something related to menopause. Today I'm talking about a little known hormone called vasopressin. Now you might be thinking, I've never heard of it, I'm not interested. Listen, this could be the key to you understanding why you need to stay well hydrated and also why you may not be able to shift fat effectively. Now, just briefly, because today I'm kicking off a free 5-day water challenge in my free Facebook group. If you would like to be part of that, the link is in the description box below to join. Just click that and you can join in. Even if you're a couple of days late, don't worry about it. And if you miss it entirely, I will be hosting more challenges in the future. I'd love to see you in the group. It's all about healthy living, menopause, weight loss, fitness, healthy nutrition, balancing macros, mental health, the whole gamut. So I'd love to see you in there. You're more than welcome. So vasopressin, it's a bit like the body's hydration manager. It's also known as antidiuretic hormone. It actually just tells the kidneys to hang on to the water rather than letting you pee it out of the body if it feels like the body is going into that sort of stress response of thinking, I'm getting a bit thirsty, so I better hang on to the fluid that I've got rather than release it through the kidneys as urine. The thing is, vasopressin doesn't just deal with water retention in the body. It has a sneaky side effect which can make us hang on to fat. And I'm going to explain through using a few stories actually, because the science is a little bit complicated. So I'm going to use a few metaphors to help you understand it better. Helps me understand it better too. But I think then you'll really get a grasp of why it's so important that you do stay well hydrated throughout the course of the day if fat loss is a goal of yours. So take a bear, for instance. A bear, before it goes into hibernation, it gobbles up like masses and masses of fruit. The reason it eats so much fruit is because it wants to store up its fat ready for that hibernation through the winter period. But the fruit, because it's also high in fructose, and fructose in fruit, it's not bad for you. People say don't eat fruit because it's got fructose in it. It's also got fiber and loads of other things that make the fruit healthy. Yes, there are some healthier fruits like berries. I'd always recommend you eat berries, and apples are another great option. But the bear gobbles masses of berries and fruit, whatever it can get its hands on, in order to store enough fat for it to hibernate through the winter. The reason for that is because while it's hibernating, it's not drinking either. And so that fat storage almost works like the camel's hump. It provides hydration for the bear throughout its hibernatory period. Imagine it's like the fructose survival switch. Times of dehydration or even mild dehydration. So by the time you started to feel thirsty, your body's actually starting to be dehydrated. It turns on a switch to store fat in your body. Now, as a bear, that's perfect. That's what it wants to happen. For us, that is not really what we want to happen. We want to keep that switch off because we want to be able to burn fat effectively. How do vasopressin and fat storage work together? Imagine your body is like a car. So normally your fuel comes from adenosine triphosphate, ATP, okay? Say that's like the petrol tank, the fuel tank of your car. When your fuel tank runs out, you then use the backup tank, if there were one, which in your body is your fat storage. So when vasopressin levels are high, when you're thirsty or dehydrated, the body turns off the switch, allows you to use fat for energy, which is your normal source, and it tells the body that it needs to store that fat because you're running out of water and you may also run out of food. Basically, the body goes into survival mode. So instead of using that reserve tank for fuel, your energy, your body locks that down, which might be why you start to feel more tired, more lethargic, you might get achy joints. A lot of that is associated with dehydration, but also this is because of the role of vasopressin making that change in your body. So just diving deeper into how vasopressin is actually triggered. It's not just about the water, but also about fructose. So fructose, you get high levels in high fructose corn syrup, processed food, sugary food, sweets, candy, that kind of thing. Obviously also some fruits, but again, fructose in fruits is not really such an issue. It's the processed foods, the sweets, the candy that you really need to be more mindful of. Also things like your salad dressings, your ketchups. High fructose corn syrup is often hidden in a lot of those sodas. And high fructose corn syrup, if you can spot it, because the industry is really clever and they call it all sorts of different names so that it stays hidden in the food. That is really what you want to avoid at all costs, because not only is it making you get fatter, it also contributes to brittle bone disease, and it helps to leach the calcium out of your bones and out of your body. high fructose corn syrup is something, if you spot it, just put whatever it is back on the shelf. So combining higher fructose levels with raised vasopressin levels because you're thirsty, your body's just saying, okay, we're gonna hang on to the fat, we're not going to shed any fat. We've got into like a survival situation and we're just going to lock down the body's ability to burn any fat at all. This is also a stress response, and as our cortisol levels are raised, it contributes to that belly fat. We have 4 times the amount of cortisol receptors around our belly as in any other part of the body. So you're not just contributing to weight gain all over and a range of other chemical reactions that you don't want happening in your body. You're also making that belly fat stay there put. So yeah, hydration is so key. Our bodies are made up of so much water, and as soon as we start to get a little bit low, the body does go into stress reaction, and you do need to make sure that you're drinking enough water, not too much, because too much water can affect your electrolytes negatively as well, but be mindful that you need to be drinking enough, the right balance for you. And I'm going to be diving all into that into our free water challenge. So if you do want to join that, please make sure you do. We will be going into the science of it a little bit, but it's going to be fun. We're going to be tracking our water intake, and I want you to learn something from it, but it's also going to be a really fun 5 days together. Back in the olden days, in times of famine or not being able to access water, this worked for us. It was a survival strategy that helped us survive. Nowadays, we have access to the foods and the drink that we really need. And yes, of course, our cortisol levels tend to be more raised these days because of life is just crazy and there's so much sort of unknowns out there. Plus, you're dealing with things yourself in your own life. One of the really important things that you can do is make sure that what you're eating and drinking is healthy for you. And that removes a huge amount of the contributory stress factors that most of us are living with these days. And as we're going through the menopause, our vasopressin levels tend to increase as estrogen falls. Again, there's that direct link. So we're already fighting that battle of having naturally increased vasopressin levels, which again is encouraging the body to hang on to fat, more of that survival mode, the stress hormones, etc. So really make sure that you're helping yourself. Keep drinking the water, eat the healthy food. It's a bit like being a desert explorer. If you've got a full canteen of water and you're staying nicely hydrated, there's not a problem. But the body's completely happy. But if you were out in the desert, you would be rationing your water because of your need to survive. Well, the body is just doing exactly the same, but it's taking the control away from you because you're not giving it enough water, and it's making the decision on its own that it's thinking, okay, this is a stress response, I'm not getting enough water, so I'm just going to shut off my fat burning ability because we're going into survival management. What can you do practically to beat the vasopressin trap? Dead easy. Just stay well hydrated, drink plenty of water. There are different counts that say the tea and coffee count. If you're just having like the occasional tea and maybe 1 cup of coffee a day, those can count towards your hydration. But if all you're doing is drinking tea and coffee, no, they do not count, because you need a certain amount of just clean water. Your coffee and tea are also acidic, and so in small amounts they're fine, but not in large amounts. I know somebody who's got cancer at the moment, and he refuses point blank to drink anything but coffee. And it's just like, why? I really want to shake him and say, just even if you don't like water, just teach yourself to like water. It's so important for us on so many different levels. And of course, he's not getting better from his cancer. And yeah, that's not the only thing that's caused it. But, you know, there is so much that we can do to help our body. And caffeine in small amounts, there's a lot of research to say it's really good for us as well. But don't rely just on your teas and your coffees and your sodas, which are often packed full of high fructose corn syrup. Do not rely on those for your hydration. Get good at drinking water. During my challenge, I'm going to be sharing a really lovely booklet that I created of 10 like cleansing water recipes, because I know a lot of people find water boring. So this has just got some really nice sort of healthy options that you can use in order to help you drink more water. Coconut water is another great one if you're short on your electrolytes, if you sweat a lot, if you live in a really hot environment. Coconut water is one of the healthiest ways of making sure you're drinking enough water, but also getting those electrolytes in. Obviously, reduce or ideally eliminate high fructose corn syrup from your diet completely. That means no sodas. Watch what your salad dressings and your ketchups have got in them. Your candies, well, I wouldn't eat those. Sweets, I wouldn't eat those either. Just be mindful. processed foods are full of rubbish. And if you're really wanting to be healthier and have a healthy weight, you have to stop feeding your body the rubbish. You might think it's your treat or that you really have this craving for it. You may have the craving, but what about discipline? Because once you start to feed your body well, you won't have those cravings. The cravings are a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you have the sugar and it makes you want more sugar. Sugar's highly addictive. Food, there are men and women in little white coats in labs making your food addictive. The rubbish food is being designed to be addictive, so you go back and back and back. I'm sure in years to come, there will be massive lawsuits against a lot of these food firms. And I hope there are, because they deserve to be out of business, because they are making profits on your illness. And you have complete control over that. Just don't eat the stuff. And when you start to feed your body like you would a human, you don't get those cravings. You may struggle for a few days, 5 days, 5 to 7 days while you make that transition across. But I promise you, once you start to eat healthily, those cravings go. And if you're struggling with these kinds of cravings or getting into that mindset of eating healthily, join my free group. When you join, there is a question box. Make sure that you answer the questions, because otherwise you won't be allowed into the group. But there is a question box that says, what are your particular struggles? So that I know I can make the content specific to everybody's struggles in that free group. We have live Q&A sessions around sort of the clock and different times during the week. So I'm really here to help support you where you need it most. So if you're really thinking, I have absolutely no idea where to start, there are so many resources that I have in the group already and that I can also share with you. I'm going to be doing live Q&A specific around one subject. So like if it is cravings, we're doing a sugar detox in the new year. I'm going to be doing one on how to understand portion control and macros, that sort of thing. So make sure that you join the group, because there is so much information in there, from having a non-toxic home to eating healthier, to drinking more water, to understanding what kind of movement suits you best, to understanding if you've never done anything before in the past and you need to get started, how to get started. And I'm there for you. You know, you get access to me daily. And the whole point is that you're there, because then I can help pour into you with the information that I know in order to help you achieve the results that you want to achieve. So just join the group. You can always leave it if it's not your vibe, but it is a lovely place, and the ladies in there are absolutely fabulous, and I'm really honoured to be able to host a group like that. So yeah, if you've got any questions like that, just join the group and then I can help further support you in there. The thing is, watch your salt intake. Again, processed foods tend to be very high in salt. Funnily enough, on the other extreme, because I don't buy processed foods, I don't buy packaged goods, everything I prepare from home is in its natural form. I actually have to make sure I'm eating enough salt, because I tend to not have enough and then I get the cramps. So you want to be aiming for around about a teaspoon to a teaspoon and a half of good quality salt every day. If you're sweating a lot, if you're struggling with your hot flushes, night sweats, you're probably going to need more salt. So just be mindful of the fact that the processed foods are very high in salt, and that's going to mess up your vasopressin plus your stress levels in your body. If you're making all your own food, make sure that you are eating enough salt so that you've got your electrolyte balance again is spot on. Physical activity is so important. Muscles help to suck glucose directly out of the bloodstream, which helps improve your insulin sensitivity, which is what you want. It's insulin resistance that most of us are fighting against, particularly as we go through the menopause, because our insulin levels do have a tendency to rise. Again, what you eat and drink has a massive impact on your insulin levels. You want them to be coming down, and that's going to have a positive impact on fat storage too. Because like vasopressin, if vasopressin is elevated, the same happens with insulin. When insulin is elevated, the body cuts off your ability to burn fat. It's really important that you understand this. Even if you don't really get the mechanism behind it, just understand that if you're eating too much sugar and you're thirsty, your body, despite you maybe restricting what you're eating, which I don't recommend you do at all, you need to eat to burn fat effectively. If you're doing the strength training, you're doing your walking, etc., etc. If your insulin levels are high and if your vasopressin levels are high, you will not be able to burn that fat. Remember, your body is not trying to sabotage you. It's just responding to how you are looking after it. So vasopressin same as cortisol, same as insulin. They are there designed to keep you alive. The problem is we abuse it. It's like it's our best friend and we keep flicking it on the nose and we think, oh, it's not gonna get us, it's not gonna punch us straight away. But it is coming in the back door and it's nibbling away at your wellness. In our modern lives, we're not hibernating. We're not running away from the saber-toothed tiger. Yes, of course, we have different stressors, but it's so simple to just eat food like a human needs to eat and to stay hydrated with water or coconut water, healthier alternatives. The next time you notice yourself feeling sluggish, also gives you headaches, gives you joint pains, ask yourself, have you had enough water today? One of the easiest ways, I'm going to be diving into this again in much more detail in the free group, but one of the easiest ways to see if you're actually drinking enough water, because most people say have 8 glasses of water a day. Well, how big's a glass? It's just subjective. If your pee colour is a pale straw colour, that's what you want to aim for. You don't want clear because that means you're washing through too much, and you don't want it any darker. So pale straw colour is the colour that you want to be aiming for. If you're on medications, if you've eaten something like beetroot, it can affect the colour of your pee. So like, you know, if you've had a heavy beetroot meal the night before, it might be pinkish. So don't think you've got a UTI. It's just the fact that you've had beetroot. So different things do affect the colour, and eat like asparagus can make your pee smell strange as well. So just be mindful of that some foods, some medications will affect the colour of your pee. But on the whole, you're looking for a pale straw colour for your pee. So stay hydrated, stay strong. And thank you so much for your company. I hope this has been helpful. If you've got anything you'd like me to add in a future episode, just drop it in the comments below. If you've not done so yet, make sure to like it. If you did find this helpful, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future episodes. And I'll really look forward to chatting with you again next week.